Hello YouTube people and Fire Emblem people, Shadow here. Today, I'm going to be showing you guys how to play Fire Emblem Cipher. I'm going to try to make this as most in-depth as possible to cover everything you'll need to know. So, let's get started. As of right now, there are two types of cards. There's the red cards, which signify they are from Shadow Dragon, and the blue cards, which mean they're from Awakening. For right now, let's talk about a card's layout. We'll be using Chrom as an example. This is a level 1 Chrom, and this is a level 4 Chrom. This can be seen as you look at the level area right here, saying that it's level 1 and level 4. A cost is how much it takes to play the card. So it cost 1 Chrom means you only need 1 card in your bond area to play it, while a cost 4 Chrom would cost you 4 in order to play it. Promoted units like this Chrom has a promotional cost right here in the white. The promotional cost allows you to play the card at a lower cost if you already have the lower level of the card on the field. Like in Pokemon, this would be evolving. So in order to play this level 4 Chrom on top of this level 1 Chrom, you would only need 3 cards in your bond area. Next, we'll talk about the attributes of a card, which are right here. The attributes tell very specific characteristics of the card. For example, Chrom says that he's from Awakening, that he's a boy, and that he wields a sword. A very important part of every card is their skills, which are written right here. Skills allow the character to have special abilities that they can activate on the field or when they are sent to the graveyard. For example, Chrom's ability, the level 1 says he gains plus 10 attack for every class changed unit you have on the field. While the second part is his support effect, which means it activates when it's sent to the graveyard or discard pile via support. This shows that any blue card that would attack would do double damage to your opponent in orbs. Now there are a lot of types of skills, so I'll be getting more into it later on in this video. Now we're talking about range. So Chrom, level 4 Chrom, has a range of 1, while Tharja has a range of 1 to 2. This means Chrom can only attack characters that are right in front of him, and Tharja can attack anyone in front of him and in the row 1 space away. Now of course, the attack of the card is very important. Level 1 Chrom has an attack of 40, and level 4 Chrom has an attack of 70. Also, this is a support stat. The support is how much the attacking card will gain when this card is sent to the graveyard or discard pile as a support. Right here will tell you what type of class this card is. For example, he's a Lord, and when he class changes, he becomes a Great Lord. Right there. Right under that, you'll find the card's name. This is a description of a card, while this is the main card's name. So for example, this will say Chrom, and this will say something else that describes Chrom. And yes, her boobs are ridiculously gigantic. It's like they're running away from her body or something. Now we're going to talk about the layout of the field. This is the main area of the battlefield. This is where all your vanguards will be, mainly the people with 1 range, and this will be where all your rear guards will be, which are people that have ranged attacks usually, or people that are healers, or anything that can't attack that you want to protect. This is your deck zone. Simply, this is where your deck is going to be placed. This is the support zone. When you declare an attack, or when you're being attacked, you would send 1 card from your deck into the support zone. This support stat will add on to the character that's being attacked or is attacking. After that attack, when the support is over, that card will go into your discard pile. This is your orb area. In the beginning of the game, 5 cards will be placed face down in your orb area. This will sort of count as your lives of the game. When all orbs are lost and you take 1 more damage, you lose. 1 full deck can have 50 or more cards. I recommend only having 50 cards because this increases the chance of you drawing your main character and being able to class change as early as possible. Now let's start the game. So when you first start the game, you have this card right here. This card indicates that that card that's going to be put on top of it will be your main character. For example, we're going to be using Chrom as our main character. Now when you start the game, you want to put your main character face down on top of this indicator card. And then your opponent will do the same as well. And then you will put your deck in the deck area. After that, both players will find a way to figure out who starts first. For example, you can do rock, paper, scissors, or roll a dice, or smack someone really hard and see who cries first. It's up to you guys. In this example, he cried first, so I'm going to go first. So both players will draw 6 cards. And now, looking at your hand, you can tell if you want to keep this hand or not. So for example, I don't have a Chrom to start out with. Ideally, you want to have a class change Chrom, this guy, in your opening hand. So right now, you have the option of putting your whole hand back into your deck, reshuffling, and drawing 6 more cards. Now there's no real downside to this, except that you can only do it one time. So if your first hand was okay, and you put it back, potentially your hand could be worse, and you can't do anything about it. So now we're going to draw our 5 cards and see how this hand is. Alright, great, we got a Chrom, and we have level 1s. Level 1s are great in your opening hand because you can play them earlier on. If you have a whole hand of level 3s, you're kind of stuck with just your main character for a while. Now after that, after you have your hand, you'll put your 5 cards from the top of your deck into your orb area. Now the game is ready to be started. Now a little side note, your main character has to go in the front, so if you choose a mage or a priest, they're going to be vulnerable for attacks for a while until you class change them and are able to move to the back. So now let's get started. We flip both our cards face up to reveal what our main characters are going to be, and then the player who starts will take their turn. Now the player going first cannot declare an attack, and they cannot draw at the beginning of the turn. So for me, I'm not going to draw because I'm going first, and I'm not going to be able to attack. However, you can use card effects. Alright, so first thing first, you put a card in your bond area. This allows you to even do anything. Because for right now, I have no cards in my bond area, so I can't even play anything on the field. So let's get started. We're going to put this level 3 card in our bond area, because we can't even play her yet. And now we're going to put a card on the field. For example, I'm going to put Robin. And that's all I can do for the turn because I can't attack. So pretty much my turn's over for now. Now it's his turn. Now let's imagine that he put his card in the bond area. So whatever he wants to put in the bond area, he put one there. So now he has 1 card in his bond area. And now he's going to put 1 card on the field. So he plays Merrick, for example, which has a range of 1 to 2. Merrick allows him to attack Chrom if he wanted to. So now he enters his next phase, his battle phase pretty much, his action phase. This is where all card effects and attacks happen. So pretty much if you enter this phase to activate a card effect, for example a priest, to get back a class change Marth, you can't class change, because class changing and playing cards is in the deployment phase, before the action phase. Now he's going to declare an attack with his Marth. In order to do so, he taps his card and selects a target. Since Marth only has a range of 1, he can only attack my Chrom. So when the attack is started, he mills the 1 card. So he milled, or sent to the graveyard, a 30 support Kata, which means 30 will be added onto his 40. And for me, I'll mill a card, and I also got 30, which means 30 will be added on my 40, which makes us both 70 attack. So in this case, when there's a tie, the person who's attacking will always win. So right now, he did damage to my Chrom. If he did damage to my Robin, for example, Robin would be dead and she'll be sent to the discard pile. But since Chrom is my lord, instead of dying and the game being over, I'd simply take an orb. Orbs are a part of shields, so it kind of protects Chrom. Until all the orbs are broken and the shield's broken, then he'll die like every other character and you will lose. So right now, I would take 1 orb and add it to my hand. And now, since his Merrick didn't attack, he gets a chance to attack. I'm going to move him up here just to show you guys his attack stats. So right now, he's going to attack. So he's going to do his 30 damage, and he's going to attack Chrom. So he's going to mill his card. Uh-oh, it's a Merrick. I'll talk about that later. And then Chrom's going to mill a card, which is Lisa. So usually, this would be the same, right? 50, 30 plus 20 is going to be 50, and 40 plus 10 is going to be 50. So I should be taking a card, right? But however, Merrick milled himself. and in real life, you can't exactly support yourself. So which means this results in a failed support. Pretty much, he gains no abilities. If there were to mill a card with an ability, he wouldn't get any of that. And also this plus that would just be adding 0 to it. So right now, it's only going to be 30 compared to my 50, which means the attack failed. When an attack fails, this attack simply does not go through. And there's no bad side to it, so pretty much you should usually attack when you get the chance. And now he can choose to activate any effects he has, but he doesn't have any, so pretty much his turn is over. You can't play cards after you declare the attacks. There's nothing after the attack besides the end phase. Now it's my turn. So during your turn, you can do multiple things. Activate effects, attack with a card, or move a card. So first, since we're starting, we're going to add one card to our bond area after we draw. So we drew, and now we're going to put one card in our bond area. So we have 2 of her, so why would you need 2 of her? So we're going to put 1 of her into the bond area, so now we have 2 bonds. Which means we can play any cards that are level 1 or level 2. I don't have any level 2 right now, but it means you can also play 2 level 1s. So if I had 2 level 1s, I can play 2 level 1s, or I can play 1 level 2. So pretty much just anything that adds up to how many bonds you have. So now, ideally, I want to move my Robin, because she has a range of 1 to 2, right? So she can attack here or here. But if I were to move her forward, I could attack Merrick. So now, how am I going to do that? So if I move Robin, this counts as her doing something this turn. So that means she'd be tapped. And if she's tapped, I can't attack Merrick. And pretty much she's going to die now because Merrick's going to attack him, or Mark's going to attack him, or her, I mean. So instead, I'm going to be playing her. Her effect, Cordelia, allows you to move one of your units by tapping her without needing to tap the card itself, which is great. So right now, I'm going to tap her, and this is going to be during my action phase now because I'm activating an effect. I'm going to move Robin forward, and then now I can attack with Robin. Now let's skip forward 1 turn to my 3rd turn. So let's pretend that he played Tiki during his turn, declared an attack, killed my Robin, and then none of Marth's or Merrick's attacks went through to my Crom. Alright, so now it's my turn again. During your turn, everything restands, so you put everything back to its normal position, which means they haven't done anything this turn. So you can do your things again. So now it's my turn. I'm going to draw, and I drew another Crom, which is good. I'm going to keep that. I'll tell you more about that later. But for right now, I'm going to be putting her down in my bond area, so now I have 3 bonds. Crom needs 3 in order to class change, because I already have a Crom on the field. So now I have the right fulfillments in order to do so. So I'm going to put Crom down. So this is a class change. You can be like, class change, if you want, or whatever. So when you class change a card, you can draw 1 card to replace the card that you used to class change it. So that's a good thing, because when you class change and your hand isn't so good, then maybe you could get better from that draw that you just did. And now my main character is 70 attack, so he won't be bullied around by Merrick or Tiki, or even his level 1 Marth. And I can pretty much just win every battle right now until he class changes. And so that's how the game's going to progress. Every character will just get stronger and stronger as the game goes until there's no more orbs left. Now let's skip ahead a few turns. So right now it's going to be his turn. He has about 7 cards in his bond area, we're going to say, and now he's going to enter his deployment phase. So this card is the leveled up version of Tiki, not the class change version, the leveled up version. Because when you see right here, right there, Tiki cannot class change. This class and this class is still the same thing, but she can level it up. So that person can put it on top of the other Tiki that they have, but they don't get the draw because it's not a class change. Now, for example, if he also wanted to class change his Marth, he could also do so. Well, it's not going to be a class change, though. Because if you were to play this Marth over that Marth, they're going to have the same class, which means it's also just a level up. Like that. He doesn't get the draw. And now he's going to enter his action phase and declare his attacks. So let's just pretend all his attacks are going to go through. So he's going to attack, that attack's going to go through, so I'm going to take an orb. I'll just take the orb right now. So I'm going to take the orb, and then Merrick's going to attack, and that attack's going to go through, so I'm going to take an orb. And then now his Marth's going to attack my Crom. And now that I have no orbs, if this attack goes through, I'm going to lose. So assuming his attack does go through, or let's assume it doesn't go through actually. So if it doesn't go through, he can also use a critical hit. So during your attack, after you mill your support, and it's not enough, you can do a critical hit, which means you discard the card, so you would discard a Marth in his case, and then it would double the attack after you added it on. So this would be 30 plus 100, and then discarding the critical hit would make it 200. So his Marth's going to be 200 right now, and my card is going to be 90. So assuming that, so remember, he supported first, so he's already saw that his card was going to be enough. So you would support first, then do your critical hit. But for some reason he created it anyways, which you can do. So it's 200 right now. So pretty much I'm going to lose right now if I don't do something. So if I have the same copy of the card, or any card with the same name, so I can use any Crom and discard a Crom in order to completely block out the attack. This is called a God Speed Evasion. It's kind of like the opposite of a critical hit. So if an attack would go through, you can discard a card to negate the attack. Or if your attack's not enough, you can discard a card to make it doubled. It has to be a Marth of any type, or a Crom of any type in my case. So since all his attacks failed right now, it's my turn. So I'm going to be playing a card in my bond area, and playing Robin, Lisa, and Noe, I guess. So pretty much I played a bunch of cards, and now I can go on the offensive. So I'm going to use my Robin to attack his Marth. I'm going to send a card from the top of the deck to the graveyard. He's going to do so too. And it's not enough, unfortunately, but I have a Robin in my hand. So I could discard this Robin to double the attack of my Robin. So 60 plus 20 is going to be 80. Double that, it's going to be at 1... What did I say, 80? So it was going to be at 160. 160. So it's going to be enough to kill his Marth, and we're going to assume he has no orbs, so he's going to lose now. Now you may wonder, when should I use the Godspeed Evasion? So I did it when I had no more orbs left, and that's because if I did it earlier on, I wouldn't be getting the cards that I would get from the orbs. So taking orbs is actually sort of a good thing. You get more cards in your hand so you can make bigger pushes the next turn. So pretty much you generally want to wait till all your orbs are gone before you start evading your attacks. Of your lord anyways. And now for the confusing part, the skills. This video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to try to wrap this up, but this is really important and we definitely have to go over skills. So there are two main types of skills. There is the main skill, so a character's skill that he activates or is active when he's on the field, and the support skill, which is right here. So when the character is milled, the support skill will activate. And there are also two types of support skills. So there's an attack support skill, which is Crom. See those two little swords? So this means when you declare the attack and he's sent to the discard pile, his effect will activate. But if you were being attacked and that was sent to the discard pile, this effect would not activate. And Lisa's the opposite. So she has the defense support skill, shown by the shield right here. So if you attacked and you sent her to the graveyard, her effect would not activate. But if she was sent to the graveyard during your opponent's turn when you're being attacked, this effect would activate. Before each skill, there's a color. So if you look at Crom's first skill, it has a blue little block right there. See it? And then the second skill has a green little block right there. So this tells you what kind of skill it's going to be. For example, we're going to talk about the first type of skill, the activation skill. So Big-Breasted Tharja has an activation skill, which is shown off by its little red square right there. This means you have to activate the effect manually. Sometimes you have to tap the card, sometimes you have to flip your bonds face down to activate these skills. And yeah, so you activate these during the action phase. So once you activate these skills, you can't go back and play more cards. So also, when you flip bonds face down, they don't go back face up. It's a permanent cost. And for right now, there's no way to flip it back face up anyways, but maybe later there will be. But yeah, so when you activate a card, you flip bonds face down, they stay face down for the rest of the game. Now, we're going to get a little sidetracked right here and talk about bonds real fast. So, bonds that are face up can be used for playing cards and activating skills. Bonds that are face down, however, can only be used for playing cards, so you can't flip them to use skills, but they still count as having the bonds there in order to play those cost cards. So, but it's also important to note the colors of cards. For example, you can make a multicolored deck, so your whole deck doesn't have to be blue and it doesn't have to be all red. So if you were to have a multicolored deck, you have to have a card of the same color in order to play those cards. So right now I would have a red and a blue, so if I wanted to play a card, I can play cards from the red or the blue deck. And so pretty much right now, if I were to activate something that would need me to flip one bond over, I would flip over this card, which means I would still have a red and still a blue. If I flipped over Tiki, for example, then I would only have blue cards and I wouldn't be able to play any more red cards until I put another red card down. And next, we have trigger effects. So trigger effects are the blue squares, which means they trigger whenever something were to happen. And this doesn't have to be during the action phase, you can do this during the deployment phase. So for example, Robin's effect triggers when you class change a unit that's not herself, of course. So if during my turn, during my deployment phase, if I were to class change someone, her effect would activate, allowing me to move one of my opponent's characters. Next, there are continuous effects. So like the green square, continuous effects are just always active, but they're not always there. So for example, Crom's continuous effect allows him to gain an extra 20 attack when he declares an attack against any character with a dragon in its attribute. So for example, it can do extra damage to her because she's riding a dragon, or it can do extra damage to Tiki since she is a dragon. And lastly, we have special effects. So these special effects are always going to be active no matter what, even in the hand, even on the field. So Jagen's effect allows him to not be placed in the bond area. So there's no way to stop that effect from happening. So pretty much he doesn't do anything except that he can't be placed in the bond area, and that's his special effect, which is purple. So those are the 4 main types of effects, but there is 2 more things I need to cover that are on effects. So we have the class change skill, which is shown by CCS. This effect only applies if the card has been class changed. So if you just played this Robin without class changing her, then you would not get that effect. And lastly, we have formation skills. Formation skills are shown by the letters F, S. And these effects activate when you have the right formation. So pretty much, for her effect to activate, you need to have 2 of her sisters, which I can get for you right here. So you would need to have her and her effect on the field. In order to do this formation skill, triangle attack. So I think I pretty much covered everything we need to talk about, but I want to add a little bit more, and that's going to be talking about card rulings. So there are some things that just aren't specific enough that are in the rulebook, and this is how card rulings come into effect. So her effect allows you to flip a bond after she destroys something by battle. So I would flip this after I killed something by battle, and I can get a search out of it. But what is considered destroying something by battle? So destroying something by battle is when you defeat an enemy unit and an action is taken. For example, if you were to defeat the Robin that I had on the field earlier, she would go to the discard pile, and then her effect would activate. But her effect also activates if you destroy the main character as a result of battle, which means when main character is destroyed by battle, instead of going to the discard pile, they would take an orb. So when that orb is taken, that effect can trigger and it can activate. Next, I'm going to talk about card effects that destroy cards by battle. So Navarre has an effect that when he destroys something by battle, he can flip one bond and destroy a 2 or lower card as a result of battle. So when that effect activates, and you target, for example, a level 1 Crom, which is your main character, you cannot Godspeed evasion it. So you can't discard a Crom to negate that attack, because it's not really an attack. It already lost the attack. So pretty much, if you had no bonds, and then they activate the effect targeting your level 1 Crom, you would lose. There's nothing you can do. Navarre also has an effect that causes his attack to be unavoidable by discarding a copy of himself. So if I were to discard a copy of Navarre and then declare an attack towards the main character, the attack is considered unavoidable. This means that the attack can still fail. If I milled something that wasn't enough attack to get over the Crom, the attack is still blocked because it wasn't strong enough. All unavoidable means is that he cannot Godspeed evasion it, so he cannot discard a Crom if the attack was enough. Okay, and this could be the last thing in the video, so we're going to talk about allies. So Churchy's effect allows her to give all ally cards a 10 attack boost, all flying allies. So this does not include herself. Anything that mentions an ally does not include themselves. So Sumiya right here would have an attack of 60, while Churchy would still stay 50. Ally is not herself, so she would not give herself a boost. So I know that it's really hard to learn Japanese to play this game, and it's also really difficult to skim through Word documents and translation pages to find the translation of every card effect. So I'm going to upload a PDF or some kind of file that has a picture of the card along with the card effect to help you guys learn the card effects. You won't need it for very long because I'm sure you guys can memorize it really fast. But yeah, so I'm going to upload that and hopefully that can help you guys out. So this video was ridiculously long, and I'm glad you guys got through it. I hope people who wanted to learn how to play got what they needed, and those who already know how to play learned something that they didn't know. And for people who want to start playing the game, cards are really cheap off a website called Amiami. A-M-I-A-M-I, that's where I get most of my cards. They have boxes, they have starter decks. You should just start with a starter deck. It comes with pretty much everything you need for a deck to get started. And it's a decent price. Buying things off eBay is pretty much going to be double the price of anything you would get there. There is a slightly high shipping fee, but I think it's pretty nice compared to eBay costs anyways. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Pip-pip-a-doodly-doo, I gotta poo, and I'll see you guys next time.